My name is Dr. Ravindra Utgikar. I hold a doctorate in international marketing strategies. I have over 35 years of experience, having traveled over 40 countries across 5 continents, lived in the US, Middle East, and also in Far East, involved in the project as well as product businesses. My area of expertise is developing go-to-market strategies, market entry and growth strategies by and large. I represent a company called Wilo Mather and Platt Pumps India Private Limited. We are a 70-year-old company in India, and we are a 100% subsidiary of Wilo SE Germany, which is 152-year-old German multinational responsible for sustainable water transportation. There is a saying that money goes or prosperity goes where water flows. So our company is responsible for transportation of water. So about 8 billion people on the planet, leave aside a billion who don't have access to water. About 7 billion people every day are beneficiaries of pumps because the water that you get at your household. So our company is involved in creating water management infrastructure in India, which is pressurized water distribution system all municipalities follow. We are responsible also for taking care of storm water. You have excess floods and you throw out the water. We also look after the sewage treatment, effluent treatment. We also try to connect inter-basin river transfers. You already have seen that Nadi Jod Prakalpa, National River Joining Mission, where you have droughts in one place, excess monsoons in other place, and all the flood water goes to the sea. So to create a water infrastructure, Government of India has this ambition programs like Har Ghar Nal, Jal Jeevan Mission, Namami Gange, and so on and so forth. So our company is responsible for providing pump and pumping system infrastructure for this basic need of humanity, industry, and mankind as a whole. Yeah.
I'll start with trying to understand what each of you mean when you talk about quality as a competitive advantages, right? And then why today is becoming increasingly important in today's manufacturing landscape. So just to set the understanding from each one of you.
Quality is the bedrock of everything, is the lifeblood of any organization, from concept to realization and the life cycle management. And when you look at the quality as a one thread that cuts across, we are talking from innovation, then we are talking to R&D, then we are talking to POCs, proof of concept, then going all the way to procurement, design, development, engineering, procurement, manufacturing, quality, logistics, supply chain, project, installation, commissioning, care for life, and also after life cycle disposition. So when we talk about quality, to me, the quality is about product quality. The quality is also about process quality. The quality is also about people quality, the caliber of your people, how competent they are. About the innovation, what kind of top problems that you are trying to find solution to, which is also very important. Then obviously materials play a very important role into everything that we do. So quality really cuts across the entire life cycle. Now my colleagues tried to put in a micro and macro way. I'm trying to put it in a big picture way, which is also the theme of this conference, which is Makers of Bharat. And to just put in perspective, I have some numbers. So today, India's GDP is around $4 trillion. And the manufacturing sector today contributes only 17% of it. We are predominantly a service economy in excess of 50%, 53%. Now, to put it in context, the Niti Aayog report, which says that Indian economy by the centenary year of independence, 2047, should be about $35 trillion economy. And then there is a vision to grow the share of manufacturing from 17% to 25%. That's a massive jump. That's one way to look at it. Another, I think you made it very rightly, that today the India's share of global trade of goods and services is merely 2%. Niti Aayog has a vision to grow that parameter to 10% of global goods and services sold. Again, manufacturing contributes, I think, around 55% to our exports, around $300 billion today. There is a vision that by centenary year, it will come to around $4 trillion, keeping the same percentage in place. This I talked actually about export. So that's also a strong focus on make in India for the world. And there are number of programs that our government is instilling, whether it is make in India, production linked incentive, and trying to attract foreign direct investment in that space. Manufacturing today creates about 10 to 12% of the employment, largest being obviously agriculture. So that is about 68 million people. And the government has vision to grow that contribution to 15% by 2047, which would be 168 million skilled jobs in the manufacturing sector. So all this transition is going to be possible only on the backbone of manufacturing sector, the whole journey from a developing economy to a developed economy, Vikasit Bharat. And government understands that very well. So there is a lot of focus. Now, clearly, there is a changing landscape because of the technology disruptions and the way manufacturing is being done because of the automation, then instrumentation, process control, robotics, now going all the way to AI. So the nature of jobs are changing. There is also a big fear whether the jobs will go away. And there was a nice take that if you had someone who had memory of 1940s economy suddenly coming to life today, he would not recognize 60% of the jobs that are existing today. So while AI definitely would take away some jobs, there is a job creation that is also on the card. The point of making all this is this journey from merely contributing 17% to 25% to the extent of contributing $7.5 trillion is going to be possible on the bedrock of quality. So quality is absolutely fundamental to anything and everything that we do. It will determine whether the vision, whether the blueprint of India's growth story continues to remain a vision and a dream, or we actually see its realization and fructification of its really the vision that our prime minister has. That's really my take on quality. And as far as Wilo, Mather and Platt is concerned, I think there was one gentleman who said that it took them 5 years to convince German counterparts to start making in India. In fact, we are extremely proud to tell you that at Wilo, Mather and Platt, we take great pride in making engineered pumps which are unique to the Willow world. So we have a lot of pride in bringing Indian technology expertise to make machines that have applications which are global. Yeah. Thank you.
It's great view, Ravindra. As you said, it's a bedrock and it's all about people, process, products, everything and innovation. Maybe coming to Dr. Ravindra, from a global customer perspective, obviously we've seen some example here, but then what really differentiates suppliers beyond certification? As you said, it's just not a certification tick mark. How you evaluate and how you differentiate suppliers and
Okay, that's a great question. So, as a Willow, we have presence in over 90 countries, customer references. So, a rich global experience. So, I can tell you that certifications like ISO are just hygiene factors. They don't mean much, that's given. What really your global customers are looking as a competitive advantage is actually resilience of your supply chain and the footprints of your supply chain. This has been particularly important after the COVID experience that we had experienced the complete stalling of supply chain, followed up by these trade wars going and uncertainty where suddenly the trade wars would make your supply chain uncompetitive. So essentially, one part to look at quality as a competitive advantage is how robust is your supply chain. Second aspect, we often talk, like I mentioned in the initial pitch also, that we talk in buckets. So first is supply chain. Second is technology and innovation. You want customers to partner with you on innovation and journey that of a co-creation where their problem statements are well known to you and the intellectual properties are kept within the two parties. There is a confidentiality there. So your ability to give a high quality technology solution will help you leverage the technology age. Third, in the era of digitalization, how is your digital integration going on with your systems, with your processes, to actually cut down the cycle time, to actually cut down the inefficiencies, how you can optimize your delivery chain. So the aspect that customers, global customers, look for is also your ability to digitally integrate. The competitive advantage India has, we often say, is a cultural and communication integration or interface with global customers. We are the largest English speaking, non native English country on the earth. And that's why customers find it easier to work with Indian companies. So, how effectively are you able to communicate with your customers, to understand their requirements and to deliver to those requirements? How culturally savvy you are in terms of bridging those intercultural gaps is one important aspect. In a world increasingly threatened by the evils of climate change and global warming, your ESG compliance, environmental social governance compliance, is turning out to be a big competitive edge. I mentioned some statistics. I can tell you that manufacturing sector today is responsible for 22% of the greenhouse gas emissions in India. It consumes 43% of the energy that is consumed in India. So how your company is able to manage the environmental compliances, how you have inclusive growth in terms of equal opportunity employers, last mile connectivity in terms of rural immersion in the mainstreaming of the economy, and obviously great governance. That's another aspect of this. Not to forget important aspect about financial stability and scalability. Your ability to pace up, ramp down as per customer demands is also something which customer look for. And that scale up, ramp up is not at the expense of quality. So we talked about supply chain, we talked about technology, we talked about ESG, we talked about cultural integration, we talked about your ability to scale up, down. See, these are the aspects which actually define whether your customers prefer you in a global competitive market or no. So when you think of quality, you can't think of quality in isolation, but you have to think of quality across the value chain, and how you can create value for your customers is an underlining message, which is why your customers will prefer you.
Ravindra, so how are this customer expectation evolving then with respect to quality, traceability, sustainability, and the life cycle performance? I think you did mention about ESG, governance, sustainability.
The customer expectation game is always a catch up game, okay? The underlining truth of customer expectations catch up game is you need to get under the skin of your customer, which means that you need to know his stated needs, his unstated needs, his needs of today, his needs of tomorrow. And then only you are going to be able to give him the solution that you want. So, more broad based answer is the customer expect moon, as the saying goes. But in reality, customers are also human beings. They also are appreciative of the challenges that we face. They are also mindful of uh, ongoing, let's say, dynamics in commodity pricing, stalled supply chains, exchange rate fluctuations, and so on and so forth. So, really, having good, great customer relationships is fundamental to knowing their exp- expectations, and then you can deliver or better expectations. That's the underlining statement. To go step by step, you got customer expect first time right, zero defect delivery. And that you can, and I think he gave a great example that if you know his expectations of what the defect means, or what he identifies as defect or no defect, your half job is done. So therefore, zero defect first time right is super critical for achieving customer or exceeding customer expectation. Second thing I have observed that customers are under extreme pressure to achieve their ESG goals, whether it is carbon emission goals, energy goals, sustainability goals, water footprint reduction. We can go on and on. So they are also on a massive drive to greening their supply chain, which means your scope 3 emissions have to be also ensured that they are aligned with what customer expect. That means you also need to get into reduce, recycle, reuse, replenish, repurpose, rescale game of a circular economy. So you have to be mindful what his ESG or sustainable goals are, and then actually come good on those goals. So that's the second aspect of the whole game. Second, we are all talking of life cycle management, basically take, make, use, and dispose. So the customer expectations are also getting towards end of the life cycle disposition. Solar panels, wind turbine blades, batteries. Today, end of the life cycle disposition is a big challenge to which the solutions are being found out. So, are you staying ahead in the game to help him achieve solution to that problem, which is tomorrow's problem, is also something which you factor in to make sure that you deliver or exceed customer expectations. Then obviously we are all buying from this Amazon and Flipkarts, where the traceability of our consignment is extremely important from the time, or and especially I'm coming from the project business, also in product business, but in project business, especially when the life cycles are long, how the project is progressing. If the customer is kept informed throughout the life cycle, and that way we ensure there is a surprise free delivery, or you are being proactive in communication to bring in much needed transparency and trust, I think you are delivering on the customer expectations and delivery. And last, obviously, contractual compliances, delivering on the promise, promising what you can deliver and delivering what you have promised, which is fundamental to actually winning customer confidence and actually delivering on their expectations. The underlining thread in all these buckets, whether it is transparency, traceability, whether it is life cycle management, circular economy, zero defect, documentation, all of these lies a implicit thread of quality, because we are saying that quality is not something which is a deliverable of the quality department that is identified, but quality is everybody's business. Just like we say safety is everybody's everyday business, quality has to be everybody's everyday business. And if we do that, delivering on customer expectation doesn't remain a dream.
Great. I think, Ravindra, you covered very well.
Namaste. My name is Tushar Lanjewar. I am from Alicon Castle Oil Limited, and my background is I am from research and development design. Our company is supplying castings to OEMs. So my question is about quality of life, the work-life balance. We are comparing China, and China is working 24/7. India is working 24/6. Europe is working 24/5. So the speed which China have, which is not a long term thing, it is short term. One day they will collapse. But do we have that time?
Fundamentally, if your work is not part of your life, then something terribly wrong. My learning after 36 years of experience is work and life have to be aligned, which means you do what you enjoy doing. Now, I understand that in real life there are challenges, there are compulsions, there are, but no divine interventions is going to help you solve that problem. So, first point to your question is, if your work is not a subset of your life, then something fundamentally wrong. We need to introspect and see what we can do. Second, I would never be judgmental in saying something is not sustainable. I mean, You said China, it will collapse and that's not permanent. We don't know. But counting in merely number of hours is probably a little bit myopic. Okay, I think the whole discussion was about quality. So I think the whole um, aspect of your question, whether how do we find and or catch up or move ahead of the competition, it's something we will have to do whatever we are doing to the best of our abilities. We have to just some of the things that got discussed here, make a mind shift change, that whatever I do best or nothing but the best. I think there is I would have, if in the interest of time I may not have luxury of explaining this anecdote, but there is a book called Why Not the Best by Jimmy Carter. So, Jimmy Carter, I will spend 2 minutes on it. Jimmy Carter was young naval officer who was being interviewed by Admiral Rickover, who is known as the father of nuclear submarine. So he powered nuclear submarine engines. And he says when he was interviewed, the toughest question he was ever asked to was, "Did you give your best?" And that question, he says, haunted me. He went on to become US president. And when he said yes and no, and then the next question came is, why not? So if we can keep these two questions in mind, is this the best I can do, or did I give my best? If I did not give my best, why not? I think we'll have a lot of answers to the questions that you posed. Little bit philosophical, but I think profound.